YouTube. Welcome to day 2 of my birthday countdown. 38 days to go until my 40th birthday. So, talking about my 38th year, which was primarily mostly in 2010. 2010 was an interesting mix of stuff that happened to me that year. At the very beginning of the year, I was basically in between clients, so I was basically unemployed, I guess. I was kind of self-employed, but I didn't have any clients. I was applying for full-time jobs along with trying to find clients and things. And thankfully I had prepared and I was ready to, I had money in order to survive through that period. But by April things were starting to get kind of slim, and at that point I was starting to think maybe I needed to start applying at Starbucks or McDonald's or something to be able to pay my bills. As I said yesterday, I do live debt-free. I don't have credit card debt. I have no car payments. Our house is paid off, etc. However, you know, still need to be able to buy food and pay electricity bills and other utilities, and so that was starting to become an issue where if I didn't get something soon, it was going to be a bit dire. And so finally in April, I finally landed a client, and they have been my client now for over 1.5 years. They're the ad agency. They're based out of Atlanta. And they have consistently given me work over the last 1.5 years, basically averaging about 20 hours of work a week for me. I mean, there are some weeks where there's no work, but there's other weeks where there's 60, 70, 80 hours worth of work for me to do, and that all has averaged out to about 20 hours of work a week for the last 1.5 years, and I have been so grateful. They have been a wonderful client. I have had a lot of work to do with their clients, and it's been very diverse work and lots of different things for me to do, and I really have enjoyed working with them, and I hope to continue to do so for the foreseeable future. They have been a great client, and so that was a big thing for me last year, was to finally land a long-term contract and to be able to remain self-employed. And it has allowed me to continue to grow my business, and now allowed me to get another long-term client, and allowed me to work with other smaller clients throughout the last 1.5 years. And so that was definitely one of the big things for me last year. Near the end of the year last year, we decided we wanted to adopt a dog, and that's when we found Joey. We found him on petfinder.com. And no, I'm not getting paid for that. I love their website. They do really good work in terms of helping people find pets to adopt, and they have a lot of rescues and things on there, so I definitely like to endorse them. And we saw Joey's photo, and even though the rescue he was at was over 400 miles away, we just fell in love with his picture. We said, okay, we're willing to make the trek over there. But it was quite a process to adopt him. We had to fill out a very detailed application form. The rescue knew somebody here where we lived in Colorado, and sent them over to our house to inspect to make sure we had an appropriate home for him. He is an Aussie Collie mix, and therefore he needs a lot of room to run around. We have a nice big fenced backyard, so we don't have to tie him up or anything. And we have a decent sized house, and you know, a 1,600 square foot house. It's not huge, but it's big enough for a nice dog. He is topped out at about 45 pounds now, and we kind of knew that he'd be somewhere between 40 and 50 pounds. And our house is big enough to handle a dog his size. I don't think I would have a very large dog in this house, but he's the perfect size dog for our family and for where we live. And I really appreciated the rescue for being so thorough and making sure that he went to a good home, and making sure that he went to what they call a forever home, not somewhere where he'd be given back. And although with our contract with them, if we ever did decide that we needed to give him up for whatever reason, and it doesn't matter if it's you know, 2 weeks after the adoption, 2 years, 10 years, whatnot, the contract states that instead of giving him to a shelter or to a friend or whatnot, we have to give him back to the rescue, and they would find and vet an appropriate new home for him. Even if it was friends of ours, they would want to vet him first, vet the friends first. Although we have absolutely no intention of ever giving Joey up. And then, of course, Lexi this year, who we adopted as well, we have no intention of giving either of them up. They're permanent members of our family, you know, unless, you know, unforeseeable circumstances happen and we just can't take care of them anymore. But one hopes that that doesn't happen. We love them both to death, and they're just, you know, amazing pets. And we did take a trip last year as well. In fact, we took the trip like 2 days after we got home with Joey, and so Joey had to go stay with Dave's brother and sister-in-law for a week while we went, because we planned this trip months in advance, and we had reservations and everything, so we kind of had to go. And so we went and we flew up to northwestern Montana, up near Glacier National Park. We stayed in Whitefish, and that's actually the area where Dave grew up. Dave grew up in Columbia Falls, Montana, so very close to Glacier National Park, and he really wanted me to have a chance to see where he grew up. I grew up in Chicago, so I'm a big city girl, and he's been with me to Chicago a couple of times now. So he kind of knows, he knows where I've grown up. He's seen the house I grew up in, and the apartments where I've lived and all that kind of stuff. But I'd never had a chance to see where he grew up. Columbia Falls is a fairly small town. I don't know the exact population, but it's a fairly small town up in Montana, but the area is absolutely gorgeous. The mountains in the area, the park is beautiful. We went just at the end of the summer season. Well, it was early October, so it was the start of the fall season, and very few tourists were going through that area, which was really nice. And the weather was perfect, you know, for early October in northwestern Montana, and we had 70-degree weather, so it was just amazing, and the colors and the trees and the lakes and the mountains, and it was just a really great trip. So those were the big things that I remember from my 38th year. And it was a good year. It started off a little dicey with the no work, but it ended up turning into a really great year. So that's the end of my memories for that year, and I guess I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.